morning, everyone. It is another episode of Talk Dragon Tuesday with RPW. And guess what? We are going into week 4 of the spring blossom season, as well as, of course, the last week of March. That means more warmth is finally coming. With that being said, we do have a few things we want to talk about this week between the preview coming out of Wave 2, and then, of course, some expected glitches coming to a specific tower. We will talk about what tower that is in my details here shortly. And then, of course, the event of the week. And the other last thing is going to have to be that we had one correct answer to the riddle of last week. So we're going to be going over what the riddle was about, and that way you guys can see what the answer was. But hey, if you're new to my channel, first of all, I want to welcome you and thank you for stopping by. Don't forget before you leave today to, of course, hit the subscribe button and that little bell for notifications so that you don't miss out on future videos. Now, here on this channel, we actually give a $20 in-game pack away every single Talk Dragon Tuesday. So be sure to stick around so that you can get the details on how you can enter. Now, of course, we'll go over the details on this a little bit later, so like I said, stick around. And then also later in the show, we're going to be going over who won last week. Now, to give you some quick rundown on the in-game packs, these are provided by War Dragons, and this is their way of sponsoring or showing their appreciation to anybody that might be a part of the Creators faction. But with that being said, they also give us a little bit of inside information as to what's coming up next. Sometimes it might be a week out, sometimes it might be a day out. This one had me guessing up until about 48 hours, 24 hours, something like that beforehand. But the event this week will be the feeding event. Now, if you're new to the game and you don't know what the feeding event is, this is where you're going to actually be feeding your dragons or the dragons on your perches in order to gain points. So a lot of times what players will do is they'll save back their XP on the dragons, specifically ones that they don't need to, train up, so that they can actually do that during this event. So that is what you're expecting this week, which is, like I said, the feeding event. So get ready and be prepared to feed those dragons. Now we're going to be going over a few tips a little bit later in the show. If you're new to the feeding event, where you can learn how, you can best prepare and best tackle this event, because it does have its challenges, especially with all the food boosts that War Dragons tends to give out in the events. So be sure to stick around for that. Now, later on this week, there's some other things coming, so let's go over that. Now, first, we're going to talk about the things coming to my channel. I don't know if everybody knows yet, but I have actually started a new job. Didn't plan to go back to work, but I had a friend who kind of got in a situation where one of his employees was stealing from him, so he had to do a quick fire, and it's going to take him some time to get a new hire in here. So he's asked me to step in until then. And so that means I'm working between, 8 and 12 hours a day. So I'm very, very, very busy. So my videos, I was hoping to bring about, a lot more. But we're probably looking at maybe 3 videos a week. So there'll be, of course, your Talk Dragon Tuesday. We're going to keep bringing out the new Back to the Basics episodes. And I'm hoping that this week I can actually start pulling out our Atlas review, our Atlas Explorer series back. However, live streams might be a challenge, so hang in there. We'll see what we can do about that. Now, this week we are expecting glitches on farms from level 74 to 79. So be prepared for that. If you do have a level 74 to level 79 farm, when it comes to your production boost, you're going to have a glitch this feeding event, unfortunately. So if you notice that, War Dragons is completely aware of this, and this will be expected to go through till the end of the event. But on a more positive note, Wave 2 preview is coming this week to Facebook and Twitch Live. They mentioned nothing of YouTube, so my guess is their YouTube Live will not go this week as planned or as scheduled or whatever. But be sure to tune in on Facebook and Twitch. If you don't already follow them, you can look them up. I believe on Facebook it's War Dragons Game, and then on Twitch it's just War Dragons. So be sure to go sign up for Twitch if you don't already, because this will be the place where you can get the information on the newest dragons coming out. If you miss out on that, then be sure to tune in next Talk Dragon Tuesday, where we will be going over all the little details for each and every dragon. So the next thing that they wanted everyone to know is that there's a surprise coming. Now, they didn't tell us what the surprise is, And if they had, then, well, it wouldn't be a surprise, right? All we know at this point is that it is a funny surprise and that we're all going to find it as an LOL moment. So be sure to be clocking into War Dragons and seeing what that is this event. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the giveaway of last week. There was a riddle that I put out, and we're going to go over it first, and then I'm going to show you guys the answer, and then we're going to go over the only answer, which I actually hid from the viewers or the subscribers so they wouldn't just copy this answer and then, you know, win without even trying. So only one player, as I said, got this right. So let's go ahead and jump into the riddle, and then I'll explain to you how this riddle worked. Now, Redrian witnessed an avalanche which brought Lumen to a bronze statue on the mountain. So he set out with hopes to collect it. There was no friggin' way to just troll us up, but he knew a druid he'd been eating with last night who could help him second it. But his buddy was nearby, so it didn't take long for them to begin their flight. Once there, Mune gave Lumina to the statue trapped in the massive icicle. After they melted the ice away with their fiery breath, which dragon was exposed? Now, if you go through and you actually read some of the words that I turned into words, which are actual dragons' names, there's Redrian, Avalanche, Lumen, Bronze, there's Opes, there's Frigg, there's Trollis, Druid, Eaton, there's Secum, Near, and then there is, let's see what else, Mune, and then Lumina, and Icicle. Now, these are very key factors in this particular riddle. And the reason is because there is a dragon of every single line in your breeding tier except for one tier. Okay, so let's jump over to let's jump over to the game and go into the breeding castle. Okay, so the first thing you'll have to notice, as I said, is there are all these tiers, and in each tier I mentioned one dragon. For example, in this one I mentioned Frigg in the red, and then we mentioned Trollis, and then we mentioned, of course, Druid, and this in the orange tier we mentioned Bronze. In the green tier we mentioned, gotta find these things as we go, Eaton. And then over here, of course, we mentioned I know it's here, Lumen, Mune in the platinum, Secum in sapphire, Avalanche in garnet, and then of course Near in the emerald. And then we mentioned Lumina in obsidian. In Harbinger, I actually mentioned Opes. In Vanguard, we mentioned Redrian, which was the name of the character in here. But none of the characters or the dragons of the Empyrean tier were actually mentioned in this. So that means it has to be one of these dragons, right? Now, we do know that he's trapped in ice. Valens is the Dragon Legionnaire. Evekit is, I don't even know how to pronounce these guys, is the Regal Hawk. Modrian is the Draconic Dynamo. Methalex is the Ignite Balg. And then Capelos is the Jester Wyram, leaving the one last one here, Tuktu, I think that's how you said, is the Glacial Plower. So it's the only Prowler. It's the only one that could honestly be trapped in ice. So one person got this right. Let's go and look at their answer now. Now, this past week was answered correctly by Laura Tomb Raider. She says, I love the Back to the Basics series. Can't wait to update my previous RPW videos. And what she means by that, guys, is she actually links all my videos in her wiki, which is so sweet. She says, the riddle answer, Toku coated in jagged ice, and based on its lore. Also because the Empyrean tier dragon, which no of the dragon tier was found in the riddle. So she got it exactly right. I was so proud to see this. And like I said, I went ahead and took down her answer. I screenshot it so that it wouldn't get lost. Of course, that way you guys could, see the answer, but yet I didn't just see copying answers later on. So I'm super proud. Laura Tomb Raider, you are the winner of last week's $20 in-game pack. And of course, I will be sending up your information to War Dragons, and they will get that prize out to you. So awesome job. We may actually have her back on the show for another Let's Talk Dragon series because it's been a while. Anyways, guys, so let's talk about how you can enter for a chance to win a $20 in-game pack this week on my channel. So there's not going to be a riddle this week. I have too much going on, and there really isn't a lot in the game to create a riddle from. So, or, you know, currently going on this week. So what we're going to actually do this week is go to the older one, but I want to see how much you guys have grown. I haven't really checked on you guys in a while, and we did have the fortification event just recently. So this week, all you have to do is go down to the comments section below, and you're going to comment your in-game name and whatever level you are. That way I can see how big all of my followers have become. Now, once you've done this, the next week you'll actually be put in for an automatic drawing. Now, remember, you have to actually put both things. You can't just come in and put a comment of what your in-game name is and be expected to draw out, because obviously they haven't watched the show, right? So it's got to be to the players that actually go through and watch the show with us. All right, so that's the information, of course, on how you can enter for this week's $20 in-game pack. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, I wanted to talk to you, if you are new to the feeding event, to kind of give you guys some information on that. So let's have a feeding event chit chat. Now here's the thing. If you're new, just like this last event that we just did, which was the fortification event, every time you spend food in order to upgrade your dragons, like literally feed them to make them stronger, or if you feed your perches, you will gain points. Now, if you're really, really new to the game, you probably don't have a perch. But if you do, this is a great way to make points. I know that it doesn't seem like a lot because it's like, oh, it only takes 100 to feed it. But if you're going in there several times a day and feeding them over a course of a week, that really does add up, especially for anybody that's been around a while and has those big perches. So start that habit early. And sometimes that can literally be the smallest amount that gets your team, you know, to that next level up when it comes to your team's placement in the actual event. So that's one big one. The second one is, guys, be sure to go check out my event guide series where I'm talking about how you can prepare for the feeding event, because it will help especially the smallest players place big amounts of points during the feeding. Now, there won't be time for you to get prepared the way that I explained in the video for this feeding, but it will help you for next. There's usually only one per season, so you know you've got at least 2 to 3 months before, or, well, I'd say 2 months, maybe a little less if they decide to bring it out a little sooner, but to prepare those dragons for your next feeding event. Now, what I like to do is only feed my dragons to breedable, and then I don't, do any more feeding on them until this event at this point. And then when it comes to my divines, I usually only upgrade maybe 2 or 3 of my 9 divines, so that I have their power, but yet can have those points on all the others. So a lot of the others will look so much weaker than they actually are, but that is how I make my points on this event. So if you have perches and you have 3, you might want to put dragons on all of them so you can feed all of them during this event. Now, last but not least, don't forget to boost your bases. And of course, use that food boost because I know there's plenty out there. Anyways, guys, see you next week.